Hi, and welcome to Getting Biblical, the show where I drink too much and talk about my favorite Bible stories. I am Matt Smith, your host, and thank you for joining us today. So welcome back to the show. We took like a 3-week break, not planned, kind of unexpectedly. Had some technical and kind of personal issues that came up and just weren't able to get episodes out, but welcome back. We're here going again. Thank you for coming back to us. Thank you for not forgetting about us and for keeping on listening. Hope you missed us a little bit. I hope you wondered if we were okay, right? None of you texted me and asked me, but that's fine. Maybe we'll get to maybe our relationship will grow enough that you worry about me in that sense at some point in the future. But we're okay. We're ready to go forward. And this is the first episode of 2019. That's exciting. And this episode was supposed to come out a few weeks ago, and the idea was to make a kind of like a tie-in to the New Year, New You, right? The January 1st New Year's resolutions that people do, that type of idea. And we thought that the best way to tie that in was to cover one of the best examples in the Bible of someone that changed their life around and did a 180 and became a better person, I guess. None other than the Apostle Paul, or Saul, as he was originally known. He goes by both. But he's one of the best examples, one of the most famous apostles or whatever, probably second only to John the Baptist, and that's even maybe debatable. A lot of great things that Paul did. So if I showed you a picture of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, right, that famous painting, and I asked you, right, Jesus is in the middle, and he's surrounded by, his disciples, and, Judas is there and everything. If I asked you to point out which one of them was the Apostle Paul, do you think that you could? Do you think you'd be able to figure out who at the table was supposed to represent the Apostle Paul? Now, some of you are going to be like, no, they all have beards and look pretty much the same. I'm not going to be able to figure it out. And some of you are going to be like, no, I won't be able to tell you because you know that it is a trick question. Saul isn't actually there, or Paul. He's not actually in the painting because he wasn't one of the original 12. He's kind of famous. He did his own stuff, but he didn't start doing things until after Jesus died on the cross, right? He didn't come along until the book of Acts. So did a lot of great stuff. Pretty cool. Wasn't part of the original 12, right? He came along after. So a lot of fun stuff. We're going to go through kind of a hit list of some of the best stories that involve him, and we're going to get to that in a second. But first, as always, let's talk about what I am drinking. So for today's episode, I had a few weeks break from my job and everything, and doing grocery shopping and kind of errands and stuff that you do as a bachelor that has to buy his own groceries and things. And I discovered a new store, new to me at least. They've been popping up around in my area, but the store is Aldi's. And if you don't know about Aldi's actually you can trace its roots back to the same point as that of Trader Joe's. Aldi's is not a spinoff of Trader Joe's or anything like that, but it's like two brothers that disagreed on something a ways back, and one of them split off and bought Trader Joe's and expanded that to make a thing, and the other one opened up Aldi's here in the States. And so they have a family kind of tie-in in their background, and so there's some of their ideas, I guess, a little bit that they're kind of at their core similar. So, both great stores, but Aldi's is cool because when I first walked in there, I thought it was like a ghetto Dollar Tree, like a ghetto dollar store. Like I was like, what is this place? Because they don't give a shit. Like all their everything, like they're small. The stores are small. They're like smaller than like Walgreens or CVS's or whatever. Like it's a small operation. They just throw their things to buy, their chips and their whatever. Like I don't even know, like their trail mix and whatever else they have. They leave them in the original boxes that they come off the truck in. They just like kind of like cut open the boxes and just throw them on the shelf and don't worry about neatly stacking them. They don't take everything out and neatly organize. Even Walmart does that, and Aldi's is like, nah, whatever. People know what, you're either gonna buy the soup or you're not. You're gonna keep it moving. And I kind of respect that. It's not pretentious. It's not whatever. Kind of maybe hipstery. But they're legit. They're awesome. Super cheap. Great quality food. I actually have been very impressed with the stuff that I have bought from there. One of the things that I am most impressed by is when I found out that they have their own brand, their own line of wine, and it is called the Winking Owl, and they've got reds and they've got whites and all different types. And I haven't experimented with their whites or any of the other ones. My favorite type of wine, I think I've said on this show before, is Merlot. I love Merlot. I like it being dry, and I like just the reds, and supposedly that's the healthiest, which I don't drink for my health, and no one should, but if I'm going to be drinking, I might as well try to go with the healthy option, right? It's also what I like. But so the Winking Owl brand, the Aldi's brand of wine, especially the Merlot, is actually pretty fantastic. It's actually pretty great. I've had a few bottles, not all tonight, but over the past couple of weeks, because not only is it great, it's also like $2.80 or 89 cents or something. I can't remember. $2.79. I can't. Pennies here, pennies there, whatever. Like it, but it's under $3. It's an under $3 bottle of wine, and it's great. It's fantastic. Actually, if you look it up, if you Google it, it's got like very decent ratings, kind of across the board. Like a lot of, I'm not alone on this. Like I bought it first just to try it. I was like, hey, this is pretty good. Am I nuts? Am I crazy? Let me go Google what the reviews say. I'm like, oh, actually, like I'm not wrong. There's a bunch of people that say, hey, it's pretty great. And also for a $3 wine, it's amazing. So if you like red wines, and you can try the other ones too. I've heard some mixed stuff about, I think their cab is kind of hit or miss, that type of thing. Also, like with these types of budget wines like this, I think like with the Walmarts, they've got, I can't remember what the name of it is. I might do one in another episode. I've drank those in the past. I've had that one before a bunch of times. It's also like a $3 range, bottle of wine. I don't like it as much, or sometimes I like it more. Hard to tell, because a lot of times with those budget wines, they just outsource and they buy things like leftovers from other companies, or they just buy parts, that they can, because there's no claims, there's no. It's just like, this is a bottle of $3 Merlot. We will give you a Merlot. What's inside could be anything from anywhere, but it's a Merlot. We just promise it's a Merlot. It's a surprise. You never know what you're going to get. And I've had some of those that have been amazing, and I don't know where they originated from. I don't know what was inside it, but it was clearly something that was more than $3 originally, and they just got some extra and were able to sell it at $3 under their label. And then other times you get some real crap that, like, I don't know, it's very hit or miss. And from what I'm understanding, and I could way be wrong, and maybe I'll have to do an update sometime, but from what I understand, this isn't that Aldi's actually like sources it out and is like, nope, this is our wine, it should taste the same every single time you have it. It's their product, and it's not just trying to do clearance wine basically under a new label. So that's kind of cool. If it's that kind of that base level, or that you know what you're going to get, and what you're getting is fine. So anyway, long time to talk about all that, but I really like it. If you have a hankering for $3 wines from not Trader Joe's, then you should definitely go for it. Give it a shot. Winking Owl, not pretentious, not whatever, but it's pretty great. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into this show. And let's see, where were we now? So, the Apostle Paul, formerly known as Saul. So, as you're probably aware, the story goes that, Jesus died on the cross, and then 3 days later he rose from the dead, and then spent 40 days both proving that he was actually Jesus and showing his resurrected body to people, not in a weird way, kind of, hey, just flashing people, hey, I'm actually Jesus. No. He performed some miracles and basically giving everyone instructions on what to do next, right? They're like how to further the kingdom, if you will. And at the end of the 40 days, he flew up into heaven, and that was his end of that story or whatever until Revelations, I guess, or whatever, when he comes back again and does some stuff. But blah, blah, blah. But after he left, his disciples and apostles and the people that followed him and everything, they were tasked with the job of going out and continuing on with the mission of telling the good news, right? Telling the story, telling them about Jesus and how people can be saved and all this kind of stuff. And so they went out and they were healing people and doing miracles and just creating this big movement of followers. But doing all that, they also had some enemies. Not everyone was picking up what they were putting down, right? Not everyone wanted to be BFFs. And the super strict, political agenda, whatever, Jews nearby who didn't believe in Jesus didn't like what these guys were doing. And they were kind of like messing up the system and everything. And I get it. But they didn't like it. And messing up with their government stuff. So they wanted to start arresting these people, these rabble rousers, to stop what they were doing and in their minds, return the area to peace and not have this big upset with this big movement and everything. And one of the guys they put in charge of doing all this and arresting people and everything was none other, spoiler alert, a man named Saul. And he was called Saul of Tarsus. That's where he was from. Saul of Tarsus. And he was the police detective in charge of arresting these groups, these followers. Kind of pretty much like if you ever saw Les Mis or whatever, right? Javier, that was his job. His life's passion was to track him down and arrest him or whatever, bring him to justice and all that. That was Saul of Tarsus. He was so passionate about finding these guys, these followers of Jesus, and putting an end to their miracles and their stuff, and just snubbing the whole thing out, right? And the Bible says that he could be heard shouting murderous threats about the disciples and their followers, and tracking them down and imprisoning them. Right, just not a fan. He was very passionate about being anti everything they were about. So he had just gotten these warrants or whatever to go to another city called Damascus and search their synagogues for believers and whatever, and take them all to prison. And he gets a group of men together, and they all get on their horses or donkeys or whatever, and they start riding out to Damascus. And he's just got kind of like a boner of can't wait to roll in here and kick in a door and just arrest a bunch of these people. And he's so excited about what he's about to go do. He loves his job apparently, and he's out getting ready to do it. And out of nowhere, on this road to Damascus, a huge bright light shines down from the sky, right? And a voice yells out, like a blinding light just shapes down, and a voice yells out, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And Saul falls off of his donkey or whatever, and he bows down on the ground, and he's like who dis? New light source. Who dis? Who's talking? He's like, Lord? And the voice says, it's me, Jesus. Who I just asked, why are you persecuting me? Is there anyone else you're persecuting? It's clearly me. It's Jesus. The one you're persecuting. He goes, but he says, get up. He's like, get up, go into town, go ahead and go into Damascus and do exactly as I say. And the other dudes that are there with Saul, they also heard everything and what was happening. And they run over to help Saul up. And are you okay, man? We saw everything. And I just imagine this TV show, right? The light shines, he falls out, they hear a voice from the heavens, they see him doing everything, and they run over, and maybe the light, I guess, dissipates or whatever. They run over to help Saul up, and dramatically, right? They're like, "Are you okay, man? What like, get up on your feet, like, what's going on? And like, and the camera pans over, and it sees Saul's face, and Saul looks up at his friends, and his like eyes are like washed out, and he says, "I can't see." He goes, and that's what happened. The light and everything. He was blinded by this light. He was blinded by Jesus's light from the heavens, with these orders. And so Saul's now blind, and they go into Damascus. And for 3 days he was blind, and he was upset, right, as anyone would be. And he doesn't eat or drink anything, and he's just in depression and blind, and it's a rough time for him. And then there's this other guy who was one of like the converts, one of the new bloods, the fresh followers to Jesus's teachings. Ananias was his name, and God comes to Ananias and he says, "Hey, I need you to go over to this house over here in Damascus and go see that guy Saul of Tarsus. I need you to go give him a message." And Ananias, nice guy, good guy, loved Jesus. He's a follower. He like, okay. I know that guy, God. He's not nice. He's not one of us. He's not one. Did you read the name wrong on what you wanted me to do? Like, maybe you meant someone else. Was there Saul with a C? Is there a different Saul that I can go talk to? I don't want to talk to that guy. He hates us a lot. I don't want to go there. He's literally in town to arrest us all. And God's like, did I stutter? Like, what's your problem here? What's going on? What did I say? I said, go talk to Saul. Trust me, Saul's gonna work for me now. I'm recruiting him. You're the guy gonna be doing the recruiting for me. Go to him. And so Ananias is like, oh geez, like, okay. And so he goes to the house, and he kind of like knocks on the door or whatever. It's like, hey, is Saul here? And he goes to Saul, and he's like, hey, buddy, hey. So I'm gonna shoot you straight. Jesus sent me. Don't get mad. No, don't get mad. But I'm here to give you back your sight. And then he touches Saul's face and his eyes, and he says, be healed in the name of Jesus. And then these like fish scale things like fall off of Saul's eyes, and just, it's kind of disgusting, but just these scales fall off his eyes, and magically he could see again. And that was about it. Saul was converted. Saul when Ananias gave him back his sight, Saul was like, I'm convinced he's the real deal. I thought you guys were a bunch of wackadoos following a nobody for no reason and whatever. He's the real deal. I get it now. I want to be part of the group. And he spent a few more weeks in Damascus. The next few weeks, he just stayed in Damascus, and he just started to study, and he learned everything he could about Jesus and the teachings and everything. And to the point that, like, once he like figured it all out, and he's like, "Yep, I got it all. I know enough now." He started doing his like preaching his own and everything. It was very quick study. Like, he just just a few weeks time, he went from like kindergarten to a master's degree in Jesus knowledge, I guess. And so he's out there and he's preaching, and everyone was so confused, because this guy was supposed to be the dick, right? This guy was supposed to be the one arresting everyone, all of Jesus's fans, and being just the hater of everything. And now he's all about it, like he's about that life. So then some other like dickhead like politicians or whatever, they all wanted to put a stop to him. So they plotted to kill him, right? They're like, how dare he? Like, we sent him there to arrest those guys, and now he's one of them. He's got to go. And they sent some assassins to wait by like the big city gates so they could kill him when he tried to leave the city or whatever. But now he's in this new group of Jesus bros, and they figured it out. They found out about the assassins and the plot to kill Saul. and they found a crack in the city's wall, and they lowered him down out of the city by a basket. So imagine this big wall around the whole city. There's only one big gate in or out, but they were able to get him out of a crack in the wall, and so he didn't have to go through the big gate. And he just totally just juked all the assassins, and just I don't know. They couldn't find him, and so the assassins just sat on their dicks the whole time, and they never saw him. And so Saul bounces around, and he escapes that city, and he just starts doing miracle after miracle, and just doing all this stuff. And also he starts going by the name of Paul. I can't remember. I should have looked it up. I can't remember if like God came down and like, hey, by the way, your old name sucks. You should go by a new name, or if he just maybe he hired like I don't know, like one of those guys that helps you remarket yourself or whatever, right? Those like celebrity marketers or whatever, how to rebrand your identity. Like when a company screws up or something and I don't know, releases something racist or whatever, they have to rebrand their whole company. Or what was it? Was it Wells Fargo? Was that the one that was just making accounts for people for no reason, just to boost numbers and stuff? And they had to come out yeah, we've been around for 80 years. Past few of it's been kind of shitty, but we're good now. And please come open up an account with us. And I don't know, that was recent. Anyway, that was what happened. So he changed his name. He stopped going by Saul because that guy was a dick, and now he's Paul. He's the Apostle Paul, and he's around. He's doing miracles and stuff. And one of the first ones he does earlier on was he meets a guy who was crippled for 8 years. This guy just I guess he was I think he was a beggar or whatever, and it was just he 8 years long. This guy just couldn't walk, couldn't do anything, and it's not a long story. It's a very quick one. Literally, just Paul just sees him. He's like, what are you doing? Get up! In the name of Jesus, get up! And the guy does. The guy can now walk. 8 years. Boom. Done. Like that. Just because Paul told him to do so. Easy miracle. And then later, there was this woman named Dorcas. Dorcas. That's a funny name. And who was supposedly super nice and always helpful, and everybody loved her. She was great, like a Mother Teresa or something. Just no one had a bad thing to say about her, right? She was awesome. But poor Dorcas, she died, and her friends all called and all texted or whatever Saul or Paul about it, and we're like, hey, this really sucks. We really liked her. Is there anything that you can do? And normally, no matter how much you like someone, when they die, there's nothing that anyone can do. Right? If you're in the movies, there's a few seconds where you can shock them back to life or do something. No, this is ancient Bible times. You're dead, you're dead. But they talked to Paul. They're like, hey, she's pretty awesome. She used to make us cookies all the time, and she made great waffles and things. And we're really sad that she died. She always did free babysitting and everything. She was fantastic. She drove me to the airport once. Awesome. But they're we're upset that she's dead. And Paul hears about it, and he just goes to her house, and he goes up to her bedroom, and he prays to God about it. And I don't remember. I don't. God even said anything. But he's like, "Hey God, these people are upset that she's dead. I think I want to try to do something. I want to try something. Are you with me? I want to try this." And he just just like the guy with the crippled guy, Paul just says, "Hey Dorcas, wake up." And this dead woman opens up her eyes, and now she's alive again. No big deal. Just whatever. Just goes up to the upstairs bedroom, hey, get up, sleepyhead. And the dead woman comes back to life. That was how crazy the miracles that Paul did was. Right? And they were just beginning. These are just the one-liner miracles that he did. There's so many stories. So then later, and Paul's with his best friend Silas, right? I think they come up with a couple different stories. But Paul and Silas, they're going around, they're doing their preaching thing, and there was this city that happened to have a slave girl in it. But the slave girl wasn't a regular slave girl. She was possessed by a demon that helped her tell the future, right? Like, I'm not saying that, like, demon possession is cool or anything, and I'm sure it sucked for her, but if you're gonna be possessed by a demon, that seems like a neat one to be done, like, right? And I mean, kind of trying to make a joke of it, but to the point that I say that because her slave owners, thought that and caught wind of it, and they used her and to make a lot of money by making her a fortune teller. And they totally like leaned into the whole demon possession thing and just were making bank with her telling fortunes with this demon. But Paul and Silas, they get to town and they start gathering a bunch of people and they start talking about Jesus or whatever. And they don't even pay this girl no mind. Like they don't even care. I mean, maybe they just didn't notice her. I don't know, but like whatever. Like she's over there like doing her fortune telling, like demon possession stuff, and Paul and Silas are doing their own thing. But they start getting people to follow them and whatever, and people are about it. And she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs. She goes, "These men are servants of God who are telling you how to be saved." Which isn't a bad thing to say. Like it's not like she's not even flipping them the bird or saying anything nasty or like trolling them or anything like that. She's actually saying accurate things. So I don't know if someone was like lost in context or if she was saying it mockingly. I'm not sure. All we have are the text. So maybe she was like those are two different sentences, right? These men are servants of God who are telling you how to be saved, right? Listen to them. It's very different. Like, oh, these men are servants of God who are telling you how to be saved. Like, that's a very different way to say it. So I don't know. Maybe she was mocking them. I don't know. Not sure exactly way. But she did it for 3 days. For 3 days, she yelled that while they were preaching and doing stuff. And for 3 days, they let it roll. They let it rock. They're like, I guess technically what she's saying is true. And they let it go. By the end of 3 days, Paul couldn't take it anymore. Just like when like people are like working on your roof or there's a construction crew nearby and like you hear like the backing up of like the truck or whatever, the beep, 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 like whatever. And like at first you're like, that's annoying or whatever, but whatever. And you kind of try to get used to it, whatever. But then after time, and you just snap at one point. You're just like, I can't take it anymore. I can't fucking take it anymore. And so at the end of 3 days, Paul loses it. And he gets super pissed at her screaming this. Even though what she's saying isn't technically bad, I guess. But he loses it. He goes, enough. He says, come out of her, demon. And instantly the spirit left. The demon just leaves her body and she shut up. And he just like woo. Just like he just like zips away. But when that happened, of course, she lost all of her fortune teller powers. So that was a miracle, right? Period. In the paragraph there, right? That he just like, hey, leave her right now. I'm annoyed. And the demon did. The demon didn't even like fight back. But anyway, but then the girls' owners got really pissed because that was their cash cow, right? That was how they made their money. And now they just lost their main source of income because she wasn't possessed anymore. So they get pissed and they go and they start pulling strings in the government and whatever. And they demand that Paul and Silas be arrested for disturbing the peace and shit and whatever. So now Paul and Silas are in trouble. And so the authorities order that Paul and Silas be beaten up and thrown in jail. In that order. So they get flogged and whatever, some brutal stuff, and beaten up and everything, and then they get thrown in jail. And the jailer is given very specific instructions to watch these guys very carefully because they don't trust them. They're up to no good. And so he chains them up in the most secure part of the jail, right? Like the deepest part, like dungeon area or whatever, like chains them up to the wall. He's like, I'm not screwing around. Like, you guys don't get it easy. There's no TV. There's no, we're not going to let you shower or do anything. You don't get any, yard privileges? Well, you're just in the dungeon part. But later that night, while Paul and Silas are shackled up in jail, after getting flogged, after all this stuff, they're in jail, and they're like, you know what? Let's live our best lives now. Let's not let this get us down. And they start praying and singing songs. And they just start singing, whatever. I don't think it's Kumbaya, but like whatever Jesus hymnal songs were back in the day. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, whatever. And just not letting it letting them phase them, not letting them beat them, get them down. And then all the other prisoners in the other like cells or whatever, they're listening to them singing, and it's just like they're in concert or whatever. They're doing this whole thing. And there's so much good, I guess, energy and whatever and all this kind of stuff that at midnight, a huge earthquake hits the city and all the doors of all the jail cells fly open. And it's some earthquake. And all the shackles that were on the chains of all the prisoners all fall off. Like, everything breaks, everything falls apart, everything shatters, and the doors are open, and everyone is free to run off and do whatever, right? Like, they're just like, this is not a prison anymore. And the jailer, who had been sleeping, okay, it was midnight, you get the guy a break, but he was sleeping, and he woke up, and he saw that all the jail cells were open, and saw that everything was in shambles, and is like, fuck. And he pulls out his sword to kill himself because he knew he was in big trouble, right? He's like, everyone's gone. This is the end of my career. I failed as a jailer. This is it. So he's about to like commit, what's that? Like seppuku? Is that how you say it? Like the Japanese like ritual, like like where you gut yourself. He's about to do that, but Paul. I was going to say Saul, but Paul steps up. And he's like, no, stop. Don't do that. We're all still here. You're not in trouble. And the prison warden guard guy, whatever, he sees that Paul and Silas are still there. And I think even the other prisoners are still there too. I can't remember. But Paul and Silas, above all, they're still there. And he falls to the ground. And he's like, I don't even know what to say. What must I do to be saved? I believe in your God. I believe in your preachings. I believe in what you're doing. And they said, all you got to do is just believe in Jesus, bro. That's all you got to do. And the jailer converted and became a Christian right there on that spot. And then he was like super nice to them, and he helped clean their wounds and everything. And then he even like, I guess no one else even noticed, or people were too busy like dealing with the earthquake in their own right or whatever. He's like, there's no reason to leave you here. I mean, literally the doors are busted open and everything. So he takes him back to his house. At this point, it's like 1 a.m, I guess, or something. He takes him back to his own house, has like his wife or whatever make a meal for him, and they just hang around in his own house, and they eat a meal, and they hang out, and they do whatever, and they like lets him sleep in the bed and something or whatever. And then early the next morning, he wakes him up or whatever, and they go back to the jail to go like sit, even though it's busted, they go back to the jail to just sit in the jail on principle, and no one even noticed. Like they just spent the night in the guy's house, like whatever. And then the next morning, the officials came in, and they're like, well, we don't know what happened here, but you need to let Paul and Silas go. And they're like, excuse me, like let these the two guys that you were like, make sure you watch them. Nope, orders came in. Those guys are free to go. Isn't that great? And so okay. They were wrongfully imprisoned. The prison got earthquaked. Is that a word? And like blew up or whatever. They were free to go. They didn't leave. The jailer came to their side of things, took them to his house, fed them, did stuff, whatever, then brought them back to jail on principle because they were still supposed to be in jail. They were in jail of their own free will, kind of, because they could have left at any time. And then when the authorities came in and said, nope, they're free to go, let them leave, Paul and Silas are like, nope, hold up, wait a minute. You beat us up, you flogged us and threw us in prison without a trial, and now you just say, like, we're free to go quietly? I don't think so. You're going to be hearing from my lawyer. They go, and I quote, we're Roman citizens, which I guess was a big deal back then. He goes, I want to speak to your manager. We are not leaving this jail until your boss's boss, whatever. We want to hire up. We want somebody like have egg on their face. We want somebody higher up to come and escort us out themselves personally. I want a personal escort out of this jail. None of this like y'all can leave bullshit. Like I want the head honcho himself to come in and say he's sorry and walk us out of here. And then when the authorities heard that they were Roman citizens, they I guess I don't know what I can't remember If this was like whatever this little town was, what its relationship, but you apparently Roman citizens were like you weren't supposed to fuck with them or whatever, so they were like real upset, real worried about what they had done, because I guess that would have been really bad for them. So the authorities, the head guys, once they heard they were Roman citizens and they weren't leaving the jail quietly, they ran down and just started acting super nice, and they escorted them out of jail. Like, have you ever gotten like a red carpet exit out of a jail? Like, that's kind of like they were just like, yeah, like, here we go, like we're so sorry, let them out. Like, gave them the whole VIP treatment as they're getting them out of jail. Pretty crazy. And yeah, so that's the time that they were singing, and they sang an earthquake into happening. And so much other stuff happened. Where are we at? Okay. A lot more stuff happened. So it got so crazy. There's even a reference that Paul was doing so many miracles and things that other people, not even like his like first line, like the A-list of his friends or whatever, his followers, but like the D-list, I guess, of people that knew who he was and knew what he was doing, like the super like third ringer fangirls or whatever of him, were collecting like napkins and things that he had touched, and were using those to then touch sick people or demon possessed people. That's how powerful. Like, so Paul, like, you know, he went up and like, hey, cripple guy, you can walk now. Boom. Hey, dead girl, wake up. Boom. Like, he was doing all this stuff, you know, in the prison, all that kind of stuff, and like so powerful that people were collecting his napkins and using his throwaway napkins, and then like put them in like little Ziploc bags, and then taking those napkins to other people that were sick or demon possessed, and touching those napkins to those people. And because the napkins still had the essence of Paul on them, they were healing people and casting out demons. Crazy stuff, right? Like, just nuts. Just amazing. And because of all this, because people were healing people with these Paul napkins and like selling them on eBay and doing all this stuff, these other guys, these 7 brothers, they started getting a little ahead of themselves and trying to be part of the action too. So these brothers, they were going around, and they weren't even using Paul's napkins. Like, they weren't even buying them off eBay or anything. They were just going out and like, hey, we can say the same things that Paul says. We can still like command demons in the name of Jesus and do all this stuff. And so they were trying to mimic him without the napkins, and they did, I guess, a couple of decent jobs. Like, it was working for them, okay. And but they get to this one demon. They find someone with this one demon, and they go, in the name of Lord Jesus, who Paul preaches about, right? So they skip the whole no napkins. They're just trying to name drop Paul, right? They're just trying to scare demons by even naming Paul, like, oh yeah, we're friends with Paul. You know, if you'd be scared of Paul, you should be friends of us, right? Like that type of thing. And also, they want to talk about the name of Lord Jesus, who Paul preaches about, not to be confused with any other Jesuses out there, right? Not this guy, specifically the one that Paul preaches about. And they had some limited success, but they tried again on this particularly one nasty demon, and they get out in the name of Lord Jesus, who Paul preaches about. And the demon goes, okay, Jesus I know. Paul, heard of him, know who he is. Who the fuck are you, dickheads? Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? You just coming here name dropping? What are you doing? And then the man who was demon possessed by this demon, it was I guess like a rhetorical question, like, yeah, like, oh, I know who Jesus is, I know who Paul is, I don't know who you are. And then the demon possessed man jumps on the brothers and just starts wailing on them and beats the shit out of all of them. It's 1 versus 7, and he is killing it. Like, he's just bodying all of them. And it says, this is my favorite part, it says, 1 versus 7, this is in the Bible, he gave them such a beating that they all ran out of the house. They ran out of the house bleeding and naked. he just bodied them. He just like bleeding. I get that was what I expected. Like, but he beat their clothes off. Literally, every other expression, he beat their pants off. Literally, they ran out naked. 7 brothers. Can you imagine the scene? Like, just 7 brothers running out of this house naked and bloody. And just the demon-possessed guy, like, at the front door of the house, just like, yeah, get out of here. I don't know. The word of all this spread and somehow made Paul and Jesus more popular. I don't know. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, these guys were phonies, but Paul's the real deal and Jesus and all that. And it says because of it and everything, like a bunch of people that practiced like witchcraft and whatever, like magicians and wizards, they all converted and like burned their magic scrolls and whatever and all that kind of stuff. And it's probably part of why we don't have magic today, because they burned it all back then to convert to Christianity. But all this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, there's no mention of the guy that was demon possessed and beat up the 7 brothers. Like I don't, unless I'm missing something, there wasn't another mention of him. So I really hope everything turned out okay for him. It's kind of like there's a side story, like, oh, these 7 brothers were trying to like name drop and they got their asses beat and their pants off. They ran out naked. But Paul never interacts with that poor guy that was demon possessed to like help him out. Like he never goes to him and helps the situation. The guy just lives the rest of his life with this demon, this demon possession. I don't know. I hope he's okay. And there's a bunch of more stories, a bunch of other stuff about Paul doing crazy things, preaching more and getting thrown into prison more and getting out of prison and everything. To the point that Paul actually doesn't have an official ending in the Bible. The Bible doesn't really specify like how he died even. There's a lot of evidence and a lot of other stuff we can put together that we think that he finally got back to Rome at the end of it all and was later decapitated, unfortunately. Kind of sucks. That's kind of how it goes, but it's not specifically stated in any specific verse or whatever. There is some cool stuff. Again, he's one of the most popular guys in the Bible, especially the New Testament, and there's a lot of other theories and stuff around him, a lot of lore around him, who he was and everything, and his final years and all that. I'm surprised there's not what was that Tom Hanks, the Da Vinci Code or whatever. What was the other one? Angels and Demons? I never watched either one of them. Maybe he's in there. I don't know. But I'm surprised there isn't like a big, like more of a theory around him. But there's kind of cool shit. This is not biblical, by the way. This part is not biblical. It's just, again, lore. But there's a really cool story about where supposedly when he was so like in tune with God or whatever and so powerful, just like with the whole napkin thing, there's a story that when he got decapitated, when his head fell off, right, it like bounced, and like every time his decapitated head hit the ground, a spring of water would come up from the ground, like a little pretty little fountain would just burst up from the ground in every spot that like his head bounced on the ground. Like it did like 3 times, like boop bloop boop, like whatever. It was like psst, like like little fountains were coming up everywhere. That's not in the Bible. It's not actual canon. It's just a theory, a Bible theory. I don't know. You could look it up, but it's just how grandiose the story of Paul, formerly Saul of Tarsus, was. So anyway, that's about it. So just kind of a collection of different stuff. He's got some fascinating stuff. I actually like, if you want to go read about, there's a lot of other stuff that he did. I just picked out some of my favorite ones to kind of run through for this episode, this little hodgepodge episode. But yeah, go look it up for yourself. There's a lot of neat stuff in there. But I think that's about it for today. Happy 2019, guys. Happy New Year's. I hope that this is your best year yet, and live your best life now, all that fun stuff. Welcome back to the show. Thank you guys for, again, sticking with us, not forgetting about us. As always, please follow us on Twitter. If you didn't see it, I did make a little bit of an announcement on Twitter that we hadn't given up, that we hadn't disappeared. We were just taking a little bit of a hiatus. So if you didn't know what we were doing, maybe follow us on Twitter, Getting Biblical, and of course on Instagram, where I'll show up pictures of what we're drinking. And at the time of this recording, I am very shortly soon going to be going on vacation again. I'm actually doing 2 weeks, 12 days actually technically, in the UK, London and Scotland and surrounding areas. So I plan to put up a lot of pictures of my travels and things that I'm drinking. Lots of scotch. So if that interests you, I know the show is about Bible stuff, and I can't promise how much of that I'll be doing over there. But if you want to follow us, of course, Getting Biblical on Instagram. And, of course, if you want to follow me personally on Twitter, I am Matt Smith. And on Instagram, I am Matt Smith IG. And I think that's about it. Again, thank you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic day. Cheers.